You're listening to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WYBC.
WCYTV
Here on the Daily Signal.
Good evening and welcome to the Tony Kinnett Cast here on the Daily Signal, nationally syndicated first on 93 WYBC. Now, I know that it's not necessarily the most kosher of things to predicate the entire show with a bit of an asterisk, but we're going to do so in the interest of transparency as we try to do here on TKC, in addition to some developing news stories which might change. For some reason, the software governing our show is what the kids call running hot. And so if you're watching the live stream or from one of our TV affiliates and I start glitching out in real time, no, I haven't been struck by lightning, at least I hope not. The computer software is giving us grief. Number two, if you hear the audio glitching out and we crash, we have not been swatted. Thank God we have two phenomenal police departments near us. That would just be something that I will likely be on my back under the desk fixing later this evening. So with that said, Chuck Schumer's also having a rough day. But unlike my situation, Chuck Schumer's problems are caused by his own choices. And let me tell you, those consequences are positively delicious. So if you've ever heard a grown man crying on the Senate floor, I will say that Chuck Schumer does it probably better than anyone. This is from today, and it's, again, truly precious.
Over the weekend, Donald Trump announced a new trade deal with the European Union. It will result in a $90 billion per year tax hike on American families. When you raise tariffs, the American families pay for it. $90 billion tax on American families in this tariff deal with the European Union. Donald Trump is, as usual, trying to hype up, exaggerate, and lie about his accomplishments. Donald Trump always lies.
Use your words, Chuck, one at a time.
Almost always lies about his accomplishments, and this is no exception.
There you go. Okay, so two things there. First of all, he complains about the EU trade deal that Trump brokered over the weekend that wasn't supposed to happen. I was told, you were told, we all were told, Trump's just going over there to play some golf in the armored golf cart. That's just a vacation. Nothing's going to get done. Europe is going to stand and resist Donald Trump. And in fact, what we ended up getting was a pretty seriously impressive trade deal. But before we get to the trade deal itself, I want to point out two things. Number one, Chuck Schumer was in favor of tariffs until about 15 minutes ago. Go check the man's voting record over the last couple of terms. Very protectionist in trade policy. He just wasn't any good at getting deals for it. Number two, the hype up, exaggerate, and lie portion. It's really hilarious watching Chuck Schumer talk about another individual in politics hyping up, exaggerating, or lying. Exhibit A comes from Chuck Schumer, who decided to be one of those lawmakers that takes time out of their busy days to record 2-minute videos of themselves over the weekend. Again, given that he just criticized Trump for exaggerating and lying, Chuck Schumer, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, now we know the truth, that Donald Trump was indeed in the Epstein files, and they lied about it again and again and again. And now we know why Speaker Johnson called the House prematurely on recess, the Epstein recess, because they're afraid.
Ooh, the Epstein. Oh, okay. That's not hyping up or exaggerating or lying about what part of the Epstein files Trump is in or isn't in, but anyway.
Of that truth.
Being afraid of that truth. Yes, good old Chuck Schumer. We all know he's not afraid of the truth, which is why, of course, he hasn't answered any questions about, Joe Biden's mental health, the collapse, and the cover-up he played a part in during that whole chicanery. But more so than anything, I do want to make it clear to each of you that the Wall Street Journal article that said that Donald Trump's name was in the Epstein files or whatever, that in that particular article, they actually cite, like everyone's name is in the Epstein files. It doesn't say anything about criminality, and the places in the file that Trump's name is in, those particular parts of the files are in fact exposed in public knowledge. So there's not a bunch of hidden secret ultra meeting nonsense that has been found that the Wall Street Journal reported on. So for a man that, again, losing his ever-loving marbles over that particular thing, I'm not seeing it. Now, on the Trump side over the weekend, there's a lot of really cool stuff. So we'll kind of go in reverse here. Trump did, in fact, broker the ceasefire between acting Prime Minister of Thailand and the Prime Minister of Cambodia, who engaged in a hot war, like India and Pakistan started to, like the Congo and Rwanda. It seems that the Trump administration actually has brokered a fair amount of peace negotiations, ceasefires, the Israel and Iran ceasefire, for instance. And yet again, you're not going to hear any of that and praise on that from Chuck Schumer because, again, God forbid you actually give someone on the other side of the aisle credit where credit is due. Now, Trump also did talk about trade policy over the weekend. And look, was Trump hit with Epstein questions about this? Of course, and they have about the IQ level that you would expect.
President, was part of the rush to get this deal done to knock the Jeffrey Epstein story out?
Oh, you got to be kidding with that. No, had nothing to do with it. Only you would think that. That had nothing to do with it.
By the way, I really do enjoy everyone, including diplomats in the room, going, oh, good Lord, here we go. Those who are interested right now in seeing more on the Epstein files in that investigation, I am one of them. And those who are interested in stoking up the flames by suggesting everything is an Epstein cover-up are going to split very quickly over the next couple of months. And this is a great example why. If anything that you do is actually a secret mechanism for the Epstein cover-up, it's going to run real thin, real quick. This is how the left always does it. They go way too far, way too fast. I've said it before. Rob Carson's right over there. He's heard me say this before. The left goes way too far, way too fast every time. Here they are again. They can't just have one little political moment and take it. They've got to seize on it, and it just isn't going to work. Now, you were told that everything was going to burn down. Chuck Schumer's talking about this big, massive tax. Here's what Trump actually brought to bear on the EU trade deal with the United States.
So we're going to do the following. The European Union is going to agree to purchase from the United States $750 billion worth of energy. $750 billion worth of energy. They are going to agree to invest into the United States $600 billion more than they're investing already. So they're investing a large amount of money. You know what that amount of money is. It's very substantial.
Now, hang on a second here. A couple of things that I just have a problem. First of all, did you know that Trump can read? I say that because Biden couldn't. And I got the distinct displeasure, although Biden was mocked for it, of watching right after a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, Jackie Walorski, passed away in a horrible car accident. I had the horrible displeasure of watching Joe Biden, after naming a center after her, look around in the room after reading a script that he could barely get through, asking where the woman was. And Trump reads from a script in this particular instance because the man's brokering massive trade deals with India, with the Philippines. He's brokered trade deals with the United States and the UK directly because they're not a part of the EU. And we will get to Keir Starmer in a second. Massive trade deal with Japan, one of the largest reconfigurations of a trade deal with the country of Japan since Bill Clinton and everyone else was freaking out about Japanese auto imports in the 90s. So hang on a second here. And let's see what's brought to order. Because I was told, by the way, I should also mention that Howard Lutnick, whom I've given a lot of scorn for, did a very intelligent thing and has in fact pushed the Chinese tariff implementation that was supposed to come again here in a couple of days back another 90 days so there can be some additional negotiation. This will likely have to do with whether the M2 TikTok deal also goes through in its fullness, and we'll get to that. But right now what Trump is doing is actually using tariffs as a lever of economic power, and it is working. It just is. And anyone trying to tell you different is lying to you. And whether they're lying to you out of ignorance, they don't know what's going on, or they're lying to you because they, God forbid anyone gives Orange Man a little bit of credit. Well, I mean, you know, it's a little bit more transparent than you might think to the American people. And the media doesn't even know how to cover this. And by the way, I'm not saying they're trying to cover it and they're making an attempt and it's just really transparently dishonest. No, I mean, Axios is trying to cover this. They don't know how to cover it and make Trump look bad. Exhibit A, 11 hours ago. In the Trump-dominated global economy, the U.S. gets plenty, but gives nothing in return. Yeah, thank God. That is in fact what I voted for. You know, survey says... Exactly. I was looking for the United States to get a lot in these trade deals because the Trump administration promised We were being taken advantage of. Radio crew, we got to send you over to the commercial. We'll catch you in the second. We're going to keep it up over on the live stream. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast here on the Daily Signal. Now, boys, girls, and squirrels, even though folks like Axios are losing it over the U.S. getting a whole lot and the world not getting something in return, that's not the biggest crocodile tears in the room. In fact, I must say, the tears in this case might in fact be real champagne because they come from the Champagne region of France. French media has announced that the European Union has surrendered to the United States. And I gotta say, as a leading authority on surrendering, France would know. Impressive. You're telling me that, first of all, I'm also excited whenever a Muslim nation surrenders to the United States. So again, thanks for France for that double victory there. It really is weird to watch the entire world come to the conclusion that the leader of the free world can lead. You can have fair deals, you can be an ally of this country, but if you think you are going to freeload, we just saw this with NATO. And if you think that the Dutch are not proud, the Dutch who are currently leading the lady running the EU, the guy running NATO, all agreeing to Donald Trump's specific policies. If you don't see that as a geopolitical victory, whether you're more establishmentarian or whether you're more populist on the foreign policy scale, it is an incredible, incredible win. Now, let's talk about how the flip side of this is currently affecting the United States. So as of today, an Obama judge decided now was the time to lose her mind and try to file some kind of emergency super injunction against the Congress-passed law, which cuts funding from Planned Parenthood. Now, I don't know if you remember in the Constitution, this power of the purse, typically the thing that holds the money, that's in, producer Nick, can you help me out here? The power of the purse rests in what organization? I can't quite think of the name.
The Supreme Court, maybe?
No, not the Supreme Court. Try again.
The presidency.
No. The other one, the branch that AOC forgets exists.
Oh, you mean the one she serves?
Yeah, the U.S. Congress. That's right, Congress.
Oh,
the power of
the
purse, which rests in
Congress.
Congress. See, they passed this law that strips funding from Planned Parenthood. So this Obama-era judge, Whitney Hermandorfer, which, boy, if there's ever been a name that needs to be shoved into a locker, that's one right there. We're going to get it. If you are listening to this show and your name is Hermandorfer, I'm sorry.
Apologies.
I'm sorry. But also, that's quite a masterful name right there. So Whitney Hermandorfer, the Obama appointee replacement here, she swoops in and she's very, 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 very mad. Indira Talwani, Obama individual coming in, excuse me, not Whitney Hermandorfer, Indira Talwani. Sorry, I got my headlines mixed up there. Indira Talwani swoops in, issues this blocking order of the Trump administration cutting Medicaid from Planned Parenthood. And I've read this particular blocking a couple of times here. I'm trying so hard. Trying to get it. Bonchi over at Red State's trying to understand it. Her argument for why Congress can't cut funding from Planned Parenthood. I'm sorry, I'm really trying to grasp this one here for you. Patients are likely to suffer adverse health consequences where care is disrupted or unavailable. That's her argument. Now, I don't know anywhere in the Constitution where it says that Congress can't cut funding if someone doesn't get certain kinds of medical care. But that isn't true. There is not one place a Planned Parenthood is located that there's not medical care nearby. Planned Parenthood doesn't offer life-saving medical care for anybody at all whatsoever. And I'm sorry, cancer screenings included. In fact, the cancer screenings that Planned Parenthood provides are a lower quality of cancer screening than you can get from the local urgent care. Get out of here. So again, the media losing their mind over this particular nonsense. The longer the tears flow, the better it's going to be. Radio crews coming back from commercial. I've got a poll for you that is going to rock your world. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast here on the Daily Signal.
It's the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIPC.
Guys, I tell you, we are here live on this beautiful Monday evening. We got Rob Carson from Newsmax in studio. Producer Nick is here. There's a new Wall Street Journal poll that came out over the weekend. You say, Tony, why are you so excited about a Wall Street Journal poll? Because I'm going to be real. Right now, Democrats are probably a half an inch away from needing serious counseling and an intervention at the local church, because the Wall Street Journal found that even though Trump's approval rating is sinking on a couple of issues, that's true. I'm not going to hide that from you. Even though Trump's approval rating is sinking on a couple of issues, the Wall Street Journal notes that even on things that, perhaps Americans aren't favorable on some things with Republicans, they are still way more favorable with Republicans than they are with Democrats on certain issues. So allow me to give you an example here. Even though Republicans right now are barely over water on illegal immigration, Americans still trust Republicans 24 points more than they trust Democrats. On immigration, it's R plus 17. On inflation, even though Republicans are currently underwater with voters on inflation, they are still 10 points more over water with voters than Democrats are. Tariffs, R plus 7. Foreign policy, R plus 8. And oh man, you want to talk about some really rough moments for the Democrat Party. Harry Enton over at CNN illustrated what has to be one of the worst gut-wrenching punches on foreign policy, because I was told it was going to start World War III and it was going to cost Trump the midterms if we bombed Iran. Because, man, I tell you what, if there's anything Americans hate, it's watching a B-2 Spirit bomber absolutely level a Muslim fundamentalist nuclear facility. Harry Enton popping that bubble.
Yeah, this one was a surprising one to me, given everything that's going on in Russia, what happened in Iran, what happened in Gaza. But the bottom line is Democrats in the American voters' minds cannot hack it. What are we talking about? Party trust more on foreign policy. Well, the GOP holds an average 6-point lead in the month of July. Look at this. Fox News came out last week, plus 3 points for Republicans on foreign policy over the Democrats. You think that number is not high enough for you? How about the Wall Street Journal? GOP plus 8 points when they match congressional Democrats up against congressional Republicans. The bottom line is this. Despite everything that's going on in the world right now, Republicans are more trusted on Democrats when it comes to foreign policy and the world at large.
Well, how about that? I, for one, am shocked. Okay, I'm not shocked. These are the things that were supposed to tank Trump, remember? They're like, oh, Ukraine and Putin, it's going to tank him. Oh, the Israeli-Russia thing. And they're throwing all of their media resources right now into photos that are not of starving children, that are children with cerebral palsy, trying to say, oh, Trump's, funding this genocidal regime, and they're falsifying the work to get there. They're trying to get him on the Epstein stuff, and they're falsifying the work to get there. They're trying to get him on the economy, and they're falsifying the work to get there. And American people are just not caring. They're just not caring. Now, the Karens, they're out here. And in this particular case, the Karens, did you like the little play on words there? See, they're staging a sit-in at the ICE facility in Baltimore. Now, haven't you heard this one already? Haven't you seen Representative LaMonica McIver do the Kool-Aid? Oh yeah, body slam federal agents outside of Delaney Hall in Newark, New Jersey? Haven't you already seen Senator Alex Padilla try to rush Kristi Noem over ICE and get tackled to the ground, and then, oh yeah, he didn't wear any identification or security pin? Haven't they cried about Kilmar Abrego Garcia no less than 26 times? Well, let me tell you, folks, they're still kicking, and they're kicking themselves right in their own butts. But here you go. They are staging an ICE sit-in in Baltimore. Oh man.
The lawyers are allowed to come here.
If they want to see their opponents, they can if they're here. When they're here.
So you'll let lawyers come in?
Okay, so real quick, there's a group of Congress women and men from the Senate and from the House who are saying, oh, we should be allowed to go in and see these individuals in ICE. Now, only the chair of the oversight committees have the authority to grant people access to these facilities. So they're going to make a big deal about people being allowed to see their lawyers. They said, well, if they should see their Congress people, they should be allowed to see them. House representatives and Senate representatives are not, in fact, representatives of non-citizens. They are not. And the really awful argument about the census does not guarantee any taxpayer-funded benefits, including representation in Congress to illegal immigrants. None exists. None exists in precedent. None exists in practice. None of them should have, although with Baltimore I wouldn't hold my breath, voted for these individuals.
But not Congress?
They can come and speak to their clients, yes.
We can't speak to our constituents.
We expect, quite
We can't speak to our constituents.
We were not allowed entry, and so we had to stand outside, bang on the door, and ultimately sit down in front of the door. A director came.
Whoa, so far, this is just the plot of, what's that one chick flick where the guy sits outside the girl's house for like 8 hours into the night because she won't talk to him? Like half of all chick flicks. Yeah, exactly. Good Lord. I cannot believe the Democrats are attempting to do the Palestinian protest thing as effective policy. And by the way, who are some of the people that they are so desperate to protect? Who are those inside the facility that they were banging on the doors of? Oh, sorry, here, if you're watching the live stream, here is Senator Chris Van Hollen and some House representatives no one's ever seen before, sitting outside of this Baltimore office, just chilling, like, trying to get tickets to Maroon 5. Oh, that's right, Kristi Noem, Secretary of Homeland Security, including ICE. Let's see, who's in ICE Baltimore? Oh, someone arrested for rape, possession of child pornography, excuse me, conspiracy to commit sexual abuse of a minor. Wow, man, thank goodness the constituents of Baltimore are getting the help that they need. So, in just a second here, I do want to share the response from Senator Chris Van Hollen, because, Noem calls him out for going to sit outside the door of a bunch of people who, again, little rape and possession of child pornography and sexual abuse, the average Maryland father kind of stuff, or at least I'm told by, Axios and others. Senator Chris Van Hollen, though, he's got some sharp words.
President Trump lied to the American people when he said that the Trump administration was simply going to focus on, quote, the worst of the worst, that they were going to focus on detaining and deporting people with histories of violence.
I would say rape is, in fact, the violence one might have a history of. Okay.
Criminal record. People who...
A history of domestic abuse would likely be kept in a criminal record. All right, keep going.
Pose a threat to the public safety. That's a big lie. If you look at the Department of Homeland Security's own numbers, you will find that that is a big lie. Their own data shows that as of the end of June, nearly 72% of people being held in ICE detention had no criminal convictions.
Okay, so he brings up the criminal convictions thing. You do realize that some of them are arrested in connection or suspicion of committing certain crimes. We don't just arrest people in the country who are convicted of the crime. That's why you arrest them, to get to the conviction. Duh. Additionally, they're already guilty of crimes by immigrating illegally. And ICE has said, Tom Homan has said this time and time again. Hey, if you are hanging around people who are there with warrants for their arrest for child abuse, for rape, for sexual assault, for domestic abuse, for thievery, for grand theft auto, for murder, for all of the other kinds of crimes that people have been arrested for, and you're there and you're illegally, then we're going to take you too. Because, by the way, that's how arrests work. If I'm in a house party in which meth is being passed around, I'm not partaking in the meth, and the cops show up, guess what? I'm also being hauled off to jail. Wow! Amazing! I truly am astounded by basic things I thought we all learned while watching Cops in 92. We'll be back in a second. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast radio crew. Catch you after the commercial break. Now, the Democrats are in the middle of a never-ending struggle beyond just the immigration issue. So Omar Fateh was on with Al Sharpton, and here's where we get to the same old tired, tried and true things that have lost the Democrats prior elections that now they are redoubling their efforts into for future elections. I give you defunding the police, the future Democrat mayor of Minneapolis, ladies and gentlemen.
Have you seen any change in policing 5 years later since what happened to George Floyd that caused one of the great movements that we've seen in American history?
Unfortunately, no. The mayor has promised continuously to our communities that there would be real meaningful reform, and 5 years later, there is still no plan. Just last week.
Oh man, can you believe it? He didn't just go like burn the rest of the city down. All the abject horrors and evils. We are seeing the effects of this, by the way, in the rest of the world that Trump is visiting. So when Trump was with Keir Starmer in the UK, there was talk of the mayor of London, who is currently letting the city just go to the pits. And I've been in London before. It was a mess. It's a gorgeous city. It is no longer a gorgeous city. The rape gangs make very sure of that. And the other wonderful aspects of Muslim colonialism that ruin cities anytime they are present. So that all said, Trump doesn't particularly take this sitting down, even when Keir Starmer steps up, and it's one of the great moments in television.
London, or are you worried it's no longer about this?
About what?
Will you visit London during the state visit?
I will. I'm not a fan of your mayor.
Why not?
I think he's done a terrible job, the mayor of London. But a nasty person. I think he's done. I think he's a friend of mine, right? No, I think he's done a terrible job. But I would certainly visit London. Yeah.
He's a friend of mine, actually. Make sure that I don't get, stabbed and shivved by the local imam. Trump's like, well, I think he kind of sucks. Maybe you need better friends and you need to quit, ruining the town.
Can I just point out that I am continually right about Donald Trump and having other leaders on? Right when Trump started speaking again, his shoulders once again shrunk, his hands went lower, as though Trump was sucking the life energy from these people.
I'm about to embarrass you in front of your wife. And the guy starts leaning over. It's like, oh, Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good. And then Thanos snaps his fingers and then away he floats in the breeze.
Please don't make fun of my mayor friends.
Don't make fun of the mayor that's, trying to
I know they're bad politicians.
Please, no, not the Sharia law shenanigans. Speaking of Sharia law, which I don't really talk about very much, at least at present. There is something that producer Nick shared with me that I kind of could not believe was real, but alas, I must unfortunately share. Libs of TikTok sent this out. We've confirmed it. The Boston Police Department is currently looking to hire Muslims to create a Muslim police force. That's right, the first Muslim police officers panel in Boston, because that's the squeaky wheel that needed the grease. Yes. I mean, God forbid anyone, take care of the numerous bar fights that Boston should be known for, not to mention the rampant theft in the entire city of Worcester, for that matter. But please, a Muslim police force, there it is. That's what Americans are clamoring for. They're craving. Give us more of the Muslim police force, Habibi. It's so great. I can't understand why this isn't popular with the rest of the American people, except I have an IQ that's above 15. So, speaking of IQs around 15, this will bring us to Jasmine Crockett, and this is beautiful. We got to bring the radio crew back from commercial. Don't go anywhere. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast.
You're listening to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIPC.
About what?
Will you visit London during the state visit?
I'm sorry. I for those who are just coming back with us, I couldn't stop watching the clip of Trump just taking Keir Starmer to the woodshed over having friends that he refuses to condemn. Jasmine Crockett right now is the friend that the Democrats refuse to condemn, along with Zoran Mamdani. But Jasmine Crockett will get up in front of people and say some of the dumbest things known to man, some of them unknown to man. Some of them are only known to those of you who have had the treat, the privilege of walking by a crackhead outside your local Speedway gas station at 4 a.m. Some of these things have only been heard by those of us who have experienced that wonderful human interaction. Jasmine Crockett's very mad because Texas is redistricting, and that's what states do. I'm sorry for all of the people who cry gerrymandering every time they step outside. State legislatures do in fact draw congressional districts, and the party that is in power tries to benefit their crews because constituencies move around and districts move around. It's not just a grid. We're not playing Connect 4 and Tetris here. There is a little more to it, Janine. But Jasmine, she's really mad about it because it could cost her seat. And she's way too influential for that. Here's Jasmine Crockett. She's mad.
That is what the law
A majority minority state. Ah, yes. People here are tanner than in the rest of the country. Yeah, it's the South. There are more white people in the North of any given hemisphere. That's how humanity works, folks. I'm so sorry to let you know that you don't take the albino Irish people and stick them in the Jamaican sun, man. You don't do that. You're gonna get the skin cancer. Like, you don't take them out.
They just turn into the tomato people rather than the Irish people.
They turn into Bob the Tomato, more like it. Good, sweet grace.
From potato to tomato.
Also, I'm sorry, the age of treating everyone in the United States who is black or who is Hispanic, or again, well, they don't actually say Hispanic, they just say brown, because the idea that people who are from Central America or South America might think differently than a Pacific Islander or someone from India or someone from a slightly different part of India is just, it doesn't even cross their minds.
Valuing individualistic cultures rather than just grouping them all together as a
I will
voting
remind
bloc?
you that the most popular representative, the most popular rep from the House in Texas is Representative Wesley Hunt, who is one of the greatest men ever to live and completely throws this crap in the garbage can where it belongs, and is a living testament to the civil rights fight in this country working. Meanwhile, Crockett's trying to drag us back and, buy some expensive clothes while she's at it.
Oh, it's all about partisan politics. Texas is a majority minority state. They are trying to dilute the voices of the majority in this state.
I love the diluting the minorities and the majorities in this state. By the way, I've looked at the redistricting proposals, and I'm not seeing all of the sudden districts that are 80% white and 20% shared between everyone else. That's not what I'm seeing. In fact, some of the redistricting proposals in many of the congressional seats that Republicans are favored to win have a greater racial demographic diversity mix up than they did prior. So, womp womp. What's the real reason that Crockett's upset? Well, Crockett has put all of this time into being the Democrat influencer. I'm not joking. I think we actually have this particular B-roll up and ready to roll. If we don't, it might be one of the greatest things I've seen here. Do we have the Crockett thing ready here? We'll find it here in a second. Jasmine Crockett, she went on The Atlantic. And The Atlantic sat down with her and did an entire feature-length piece on why Crockett is the brand new, exciting, super-duper, alley-ooper Donald Trump. The problem is that Crockett is really, really, really cringy. I think we actually do have it here. There we go. She's a Democrat for the Trump era. And it shows like a picture of her doing this bold, mysterious, like, oh, hi, I didn't see you there. I'm wearing a khaki vest and my shirt buttoned all the way up to the top for some reason. I love it. So let's talk about the article because it's great. So in this feature piece from The Atlantic, again, she's so fresh. Such a beautiful new leadership for the Democratic Party. Her phone's lock screen is a photo of herself. Incredible. Number 2, she thought she deserved to be on the top of the Democrat group on the Oversight Committee because she has the largest number of followers on social media. Yes, nothing says I'm really good at knowing what is real and what isn't than being way too on social media. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Jasmine Crockett. Now, she also tried to shut down the profile of the Atlantic piece after the reporter did what? Started calling a number of her colleagues in the House. So what happened? I'll tell you what happened. Jasmine Crockett thought, oh, I'm going to get this piece. I'm going to look so great. Everyone's going to think I'm the new Trump. This is going to be awesome. And then they started calling other members of the House like, what do you think of her? And they're like, I can't stand this fool. She's like, oh no, this is going to make me look rather bad. Amazing. Amazing. All the comforts of a Waldorf Astoria City View suite did not, at the moment, seem to cheer Jasmine Crockett. Aw, she doesn't like the fancy hotel she's in. The 44-year-old Texas Democrat known for her viral comebacks. Is that what she's known for, her viral comebacks? I thought she was known for mispronouncing words. Anyhow.
Or maybe using different accents.
That's true. She says she was frowning as she walked into her hotel room in Atlanta last month. It might just be walking into a hotel room in Atlanta. That does make me frown. I entered my hotel the last time I was in Atlanta. I did frown.
Having to overlook the city of Atlanta also seems pretty bad.
You know, the stabbings in the Superloop really just don't do it justice. I mean, the real culture of Atlanta is, again, like the Midwest. We have the meth on the street. They imbibe in the crack, but I'll leave that to Hunter Biden here. Says she glanced around before pulling an aide into the bathroom where I could hear them whispering. Minutes later, she emerged, ready to unload. I want to know, I'm sorry, I can't help it. I want to know what you have to do to become one of these journalists. When do I get to be the feature piece journo that sits down and goes, Tony Kinnett walked into a room flapping his jacket that he got from Goodwill around. He looked unhappy, but that's because Washington, D.C. sucks, and he can't openly carry his Heckler & Koch VP9 in front of the rest of the community. Good Lord. I hope that I do, in fact, stay in Indiana forever so that I have no chance of becoming one of these fools. Incredible. I do love it. The constant infighting only gets better when you consider that the rest of the party right now has no leadership, no chance, no help whatsoever. Radio crew, we're going to talk about that with Mark Kelly here on the live stream. We have to send you off to the bliss of commercial land. We'll be right back. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast here on the Daily Signal. Now, Mark Kelly from Arizona. He's known for a couple of things. Whining, complaining and whining, being an astronaut. But Mark Kelly is also, wait, he is the astronaut, right? That's the astronaut one? Isn't he? Yeah? Something like that. Anyway, Mark Kelly, he's known for having it all together. He never runs from questions. He's always got all of the answers. And Jake Tapper, he asks him about that Wall Street Journal poll we were talking about. You know, everyone's kind of running around terrified. What are you going to do? And Mark Kelly, does he answer the question? No. But does he, answer the question? No.
You, Senator, are holding town halls with voters, not only in Arizona. Interestingly, you held one in Warren, Michigan, Friday night. A new poll from the Wall Street Journal shows that your party, the Democrats, are at your lowest approval rating in 35 years. 63% of those polls, voters, say they hold an unfavorable view of the Democratic Party. So what are you hearing from voters, and why do you think your party is struggling so much?
Cricket.
Well, first of all, Jake, thank you for having me on, and we have to fix this. I don't put a ton of stock into, polls, especially this far.
Yes, I don't put a ton of stock into polls. By the way, when he was running up against what the Arizona GOP put up, this man mentioned polls more than any other candidate in his campaigns. I mean, this man, of all the Democrats running for Senate, this man relied on polls like every other tweet. This man lives and dies by the margin of error in the Real Clear Politics polling averages. He doesn't put a lot of stock in polls.
Away from an election, but we certainly do have a problem, and it's a messaging problem. And it's important to get out there and talk to people about the issues that they care about. So I was outside of Detroit.
So now he's going to explain why, instead of talking to people in Arizona, where I'm told there are things that people are interested in there. People in Arizona currently have problems, concerns, because, they have politicians that aren't exactly favorable, so they must have something they want the senator to do. So he goes to the number one place to find Arizona constituents, Michigan. Yes, of course.
Right there in Warren, talking to folks who don't get to hear from their member of Congress, a guy named John James. He doesn't explain to them what happened in this big bill that the president and House and Senate Republicans passed.
All right, he's going to go talking about the big bill. You know all of this already. It doesn't matter to you. You already tuned out. You're already starting to fall asleep. Maybe click off of this video. So let me summarize it for you. He complains about the big, beautiful bill and that the Republican House member, is not answering questions in Warren, Michigan. You're a senator. You're somebody that's supposed to represent your entire state. Arizona's huge, dude. What are you doing? You helping voters? No. By the way, Stephen Smith, he understands this probably a lot better than Mark Kelly does. He was also on the evening programs this weekend and pointing out there's just no leadership of the Democratic Party at all.
So let me move forward on the Democrats. We were just talking on the roundtable about this new Wall Street Journal poll that shows even on issues where the public does not approve of the president or of Republicans, they actually have a lower approval rating of the Democrats.
We got to bring the radio crew back from commercial. We'll be back in just a second. I want you to hear this. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast.
You're listening to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
So, Stephen Smith,
We were just talking on the
pundit, show host, guy on the left side of the aisle, he actually has a pretty good idea of why the Democrats are struggling. And believe it or not, we are going to juxtapose this with the Sydney Sweeney situation. Because while the rest of the Democrat Party is freaking out about ICE, about Trump in Europe, and about Sydney Sweeney and her boobs, we've got this brilliant, actually, analysis from Stephen Smith, who knows why people like Mark Kelly, Chuck Schumer, and the like, they can't get any traction.
Or of Republicans, they actually have a lower approval rating of the Democrats.
Yeah. Oh, that's easy to understand. One party has a leader in Donald Trump. You can refute, nobody can refute that. He is the leader of the GOP and the Republican Party. Make no mistake about it. The Democrats don't have a leader. You know, I see, who's your leader? Who is it? Is it AOC? Is it Bernie Sanders? Is it Jasmine Crockett? Who is it? You know, we respect so many.
Now, by the way, I do want to point out that was the whole Jasmine Crockett Atlantic piece. She's really trying to be the leader, but no one wants to listen to her. And why isn't anyone flocking to listening to her? It's because that crew is currently losing their mind over the same stuff Americans have moved on from. Case in point, Sydney Sweeney has now appeared in a series of American Eagle advertisements, and the left is losing it. The whole coalition of the left is losing it. And the coalition right now consists of people who believe everything is racist, people who believe everything is LGBTQ plus 2IA 8765309, Jenny, call me your number, and the other group who believes that everything is about Palestine. That's your crew. And what happens when you take all of these crew and you mix them together? Well, you hear Hitler dog whistles everywhere. And I want you to see, can you tell me the Hitler dog whistles in this Sydney Sweeney commercial? Because I'm telling you what, I'm not seeing it.
Genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My genes are blue.
Sydney Sweeney has very genes.
Okay, so here's what we saw. We saw a blonde girl zip up her pants, talk about genetics, and then make a play on words. My genes are blue. Get it? Genes? Sydney Sweeney has great genes. Ah, yes, because she's like a hot model. There you go. Neat. American Eagle. And by the way, if you're saying, well, you know, why is everyone losing it at least? Isn't this how advertising works? Well, for the last couple of years, no. Instead, you had dudes with ding-dongs in skirts trying to sell Bud Light. Again, for the 8th time, I bring you the brilliant marketing strategy that cost Bud Light billions. Dylan Mulvaney.
Hi. Impressive carrying skills, right? I got some Bud Lights for us. So, I kept hearing about this thing called March Madness, and I thought we were all just having a hectic month, but it turns out it has something to do with sports. And I'm not...
Wow, slash my wrists. I mean, I can't believe that isn't working. Why would they be going back to that? What a concept. They're going, and again, they're doing a couple of different things like this. They're trying to, again, just revivify by putting attractive models back into commercials. I know, crazy concept. She's closing the car hood. She's doing the Megan Fox from Transformers thing.
Sydney Sweeney has very genes.
She gets in the car, gets in the Mustang. Car revs up. She peels out. Neat. Yeah, fast cars, hot women. No way. Americans like fast cars and hot women. What's next? Bald eagle? Oh, American Eagle. I get it. Now, I'm loving this. Not really just because, you know, a return to form, something that's not perhaps as obnoxious as hiring the most obese model one can find to do Nike commercials, which I'm not going to show you, mainly because we simply don't have like the pixel screen space here on screen. But what I will show you are the complaints about American Eagle, which apparently American Eagle itself, the name American Eagle, is a Nazi dog whistle. Oh, sweet joy. I knew it all along.
Should we be surprised that a company whose name is literally American Eagle is making fascist propaganda like this?
Probably not, but it's still really shocking. Like, a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white woman is talking about her good genes. Like, that is Nazi propaganda.
Now, I do want to say that it is not necessarily a bad thing to talk about things running in your family unless no one runs in your family. So I know the eugenics, if you talk about your genes, you have good genes because she's white and she's got blue eyes and she's blonde. Just Hitler had big boobs. He was white. He was blonde. He had blue eyes. It's just like the Nazis. Okay? I'm concerned for you. Please go outside, touch the grass, even if the grass is blonde and it has blue eyes and a large rack. It's okay to go outside. You don't have to stand inside and make angry videos. And this isn't the only one. People on the left are losing it over this.
You guys are complaining about that Sydney Sweeney jeans ad, so I went and saw it. That's Nazi propaganda. Wow. I thought it was going to be like kind of bad. That's going to be in history book.
If you had read a history book, you would know, likely, no, it's not. And I do want to address some of the criticisms here. It's like, Tony, you shouldn't make a joke about somebody's appearance. Allow me to explain this show's standard for when I do and do not make fun of a person's appearance. If you put yourself out there to accuse someone based on their looks alone as being a Nazi fascist perpetuating straight white male stereotypes, blah, 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 then yeah, I'm going to make fun of how you look. Absolutely. If you put yourself out there on the internet to judge how others look, and by the way, I say that as a dude from the Midwest who looks like every other white guy who's kind of sort of looking like JD Vance. I am aware that I have a small snaggletooth kind of right next to my front two top ones. I get it. You are more than welcome to make fun of how I look, but I am also not going to suggest that an ad is actually a secret Nazi propaganda because she's blonde and she's got boobs. Oh no, it's insane. More of this. Again, more. I demand more nonsense.
Did American Eagle just run an ad for eugenics?
Genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determining traits like hair color.
By the way, this is just middle school biology. Like Punnett squares. We all did this. Your eyes, yeah, they come from your parents. I know, that's crazy. You have your mom's nose. You have your dad's hair. You know, you have your uncle's really great temperament for ruining Thanksgivings. That's, come on, man. I mean, this is known. We are well aware of middle school biology. I taught the stuff.
Personality, and even eye color. My genes are blue.
Sydney Sweeney has very genes.
Totally just talking about denim, right? Just a blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman explaining how her good genes gave her personality and purity. I mean, are we really going to pretend that this isn't a little fashy-coded? Look, I'm not saying that Sydney Sweeney personally wrote this ad to revive the Third Reich, but American Eagle absolutely knew what they were doing here. You don't get to drop lines about inherited traits, blue eyes, and great genes while zooming in on somebody that could have walked straight off of a Nazi propaganda poster and expect people not to catch that reference. Good genes used to mean racial purity in fascist circles, and now it's just denim marketing. We are watching fascist aesthetics sneak back into pop culture through fashion ads, trad wife influencers, and yes, now blue jeans.
Trad wife influencers. Oh no. Not women saying go to church and raise a family. The horror. Oh no. By the way, I did spend part of that ad where she was droning on about things that aren't worth your time to listen to or watch, looking at some of the ecology and biology and anatomy and physiology I used to teach to my middle school students at Knightstown, Indiana. Do you know what I discovered? There's nothing in here that's like, hey, you know who's really great at science? The Nazis and their eugenics program. Producer Nick, you graduated with science.
Sydney Sweeney should be so ashamed. She should be using her time doing ads for things that aren't eugenics based, like Planned Parenthood, and supporting them in their plight against the Trump administration.
Well, instead, she's, going to advertise cars. I will say that, again, some of the ads are just, there's nothing offensive. It's just an ad. There's nothing.
I'm not here to tell you to buy American Eagle jeans. And I definitely won't say that they're the most comfortable jeans I've ever worn. Or that they make your butt look amazing. Why would I need to do that? But if you said that you want to buy the jeans, I'm not going to stop you. But just so we're clear, this is not me telling you to buy American Eagle jeans.
Sydney Sweeney has very keen.
You see what I did there?
That's it. That's the idea. Do you catch the Nazi overtones, or is it just like Sydney Sweeney? She's a model. She has a face that people like. She has other assets that people enjoy. Buy these jeans. I mean, otherwise known as every beer commercial in history before Dylan Mulvaney walked onto the scene. So I would love to, by the way, there's some individuals on the right also who are very upset about this. They're like, it's terrible. We shouldn't be promoting an ad that sexualizes women. And by the way, I agree. I don't think that there in fact should be a goal of society to encourage lasciviousness. But I will say that this is a way better step in the right direction than the dudes in dresses and the families that they are like trying to overtly say are normal that are not, and the other kinds of nonsense. Hold on, we got to let everyone go to the end of the show. The radio crew is in fact just about out of time. We'll continue briefly for just a smidgen of bonus tonus, but I've got a steak that needs to be cooked, so it won't be long. Radio crew, take care. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast. Now, just as a side note here for the live stream crew, at the end of the day, I do want to say I really just don't care as much as some people are making it out on this particular advertisement thing to be. That really what we need to do is encourage women in proper necklines going out to whatever. You're not going to get perfect on the first day. You shouldn't be, again, don't take things so seriously. Especially don't make videos about how you're very, very, very angry at Sydney Sweeney. From the left or from the right. It's just an ads company. And by the way, I shopped at American Eagle in junior high and high school. And you know what? The jeans were comfortable. They were thin and they wore out in like 2.5 weeks. But I mean, they were good. God knows I had a pair of lime green khakis from Hollister that I was known for like a week in high school. Bad decisions abound. You don't have to go to American Eagle. The eagle is a Nazi symbol, may have been my favorite of all of these, though. That was incredible. Producer Nick, you had something?
I do find it interesting that on the opposite end of people being angry, the inappropriateness of the ad, they're concerned with a fashion company emphasizing how the clothes makes fashionable women look fashionable.
I do say it's the it's aspirational advertising. The idea is if I go buy those jeans, I will look like that's the Calvin Klein ads. These are what the ideas are
for
supposed
both men
to be.
And women.
Yes, we've talked about this for a very, very long time. My God, Abercrombie and Fitch used to just be Chippendales at the mall. So I mean, if you buy this, you will also be a man with rippling abs. I mean, okay, that's advertising.
Yeah,
it's not all a coded.
And it works.
What was coded advertising was putting the individual who could not compete in sports that Nike was shoeing. And it's an individual, like, again, Nike, which is supposed to be one of the brands that people who run marathons are wearing. And they would put someone who very, very muchly so could not run a marathon on the ads and say, Nike, it's about doing things. And it's like, but you've got a person who doesn't do things. They don't look like they could do things.
Just don't.
Oh, my goodness. By the way, the comments on the live stream are fantastic. I do want to say quite clearly that it's hilarious to watch individuals out here agree to this kind of concept. And again, they don't have to be around forever. They don't have to be like some eternal subscribers to the show. This is something that the average person in the United States naturally understands. I'm just here to give you the day's news, maybe some things that happen over the weekend, so that you don't have to steep in the bathwater of politics. We bring them to you, we play some clips, maybe the software doesn't crash, we have a good time. And I think that's genuinely all you need. And it's amazing that Stephen Colbert couldn't do that, and so instead cost his network $40 million a year. So that all said, hope you guys have a wonderful evening. We will be back tomorrow, same great time, same great place. It is the Tony Kinnett Cast here on the Daily Signal, nationally syndicated and first on 93 WIBC. Take care.